Hello, hello again. Is your favorite author Kathryn Le Veque? At least I hope I am, or I hope we're getting there. Anyway, I am an author of 35 novels on Amazon, the majority of them being medieval. I consider myself a medieval historical romance author, although I do write my share of contemporaries, and they're good. They're really good. Anyway, this tape is going to focus on one of my medievals called Unending Love. Unending Love takes place in 1234 AD. We have our hero, Maddox, who is returning from a short trip abroad to see his parents. And as he's riding into the bailey of Canterbury Castle, where the Earl of Canterbury lives, and Maddox is his captain of the guard, he hears some fighting going on. So he goes rushing into the bailey and finds these two knights just duking it out. So he's trying to figure out what the heck's going on, because it's just these two guys just, whacking away at each other out in the bailey. And he sees his liege, who is David Delore. Now, David Delore is Christopher Delore's younger brother. Christopher Delore, of course, is the hero of Rise of the Defender. The Delore brothers appear in 5 of my novels. They're kind of my go-to guys. They're my favorite go-to guys. I just love them to death, and they're so versatile, and there's so much I can do with them. And it's really fun to have them pop up in different novels, because it's like seeing old friends again, and readers really like seeing them pop up here and there. Anyway, so David is the Earl of Canterbury. And Maddox sees David on the keep stairs, and he's just kind of watching these two knights. So Maddox goes up to him and says, "What the heck's, basically, what the heck's going on here? Do you want me to stop what's going on?" And David says, "Nah, don't worry about him. Let him hash it out." They're fighting over Adelind. Adelind is David's granddaughter. Adelind has just returned from court. Adelind is spectacularly beautiful. She has blossomed being away at court. She left Canterbury kind of a gawky teenager who had been in love with Maddox ever since they could both remember. She would follow him around, as he says, to the point of tears. So he's not sorry when she goes off to court. Anyway, she comes back this spectacularly beautiful young woman, and much pursued, evidently. Or I should say, as evidenced by the knights fighting it out in the bailey. They have followed her home, and they're duking it out for her affection. So that is just the opening scene of this novel, which is a novel that just kind of, it never stops moving. The story is really about how Maddox realizes he was kind of foolish to think Adelind was such a silly young woman, because she is such a glorious creature, as he puts it. So the story is really about how these two get reacquainted with each other, how Adelind has never stopped loving him, hence the title, Unending Love. She is much pursued, but she only wants Maddox. She is convinced Maddox does not want her. So at one point in the early chapters of the book, she's discussing joining a convent because she doesn't want anybody else. Well, Maddox has very quickly come to his senses and has decided that she is the woman for him, and so they fall in love, basically. It's just a very sweet realization. It's a very sweet progression of this story. And just when things are going good between them, enter the antagonist of the story by the name of Brighton de Royans. He's part of the de Royans clan. Weston de Royans is the hero in To the Lady Born. Brighton is part of this clan, one of his ancestors. So Brighton is actually the brother of Adelind's best friend. So they've known each other a long time. Now, much like Maddox, Brighton kind of wonders why he's never noticed Adelind before, and realized what a lovely young woman she is. So he throws his hat into the ring. He challenges Maddox. There is a very nasty knockdown, drag-out battle in which Maddox is very seriously wounded, and Brighton absconds with Adelind. So this story is really it's such an adventurous romance. It's such a God, you want these people to come together, and there's just so many things now that Maddox is finally in love with Adeline, she's taken away from him, and he is so injured and so hurt, but yet he pulls himself off of his deathbed to go and find her and avenge her against Brighton. And the closing fight between the two of them is probably one of the most brutal I've ever written. You really have to read it and see how this ends up. But it originally this book was going to be called Dark Steel because there's a sentence in the book where someone describes Maddox's sword as his piece of dark steel. So I was originally going to call it that, but the predominant theme throughout the whole book was this unending love between the two of them. So much so that I really had to call it Unending Love, and it's a perfect title for this book. I love this book. It is such a passionate, sweet book. We see a lot of crossover characters in it. A lot of heroes from books I've written. We have Garth Forbes from Archangel. We have Reese Dubois from Spectre of the Sword. And then we've got David Delore. We've got Christopher Delore. So we've got these crossover knights, guys who had been heroes in their own books, now are much older. Their kids and grandkids are taking over for them. So it's really cool to see these old knights in action one last time to help Maddox regain Adeline. If you have not read this book, you must read this book. If you are a lover of romance and of just really an action adventure type of book, which this one is, you absolutely must read this. So for Unending Love, I am Kathryn Le Veque. You can check out all of my novels at www.kathrynleveque.com. And please feel free to email me. I love to hear from my readers, and I hope you love this book. See you on the next tape.